understand how both nations engineered this remarkable turnaround, I spoke with their leaders. We'll hear from the President of Sierra Leone a bit later, but first, my interview with Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the President of Liberia. She's Africa's first elected female head of state. She sat down with me during her visit to Washington, D.C. President Sirleaf, it's a great pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you. Good to talk to you.
I want to begin with Ebola epidemic. There's only one reported case in the past 2 months. To what extent have you contained this epidemic?
We feel confident that we have been able to contain it. We also feel confident that we now have the capacity and the experience to be able to respond if there were another recurrence, as was evident by the one case, which did not develop into anything other. We tried to go by the World Health Organization standard that says you have to have 42 days of zero case to be declared Ebola free. We're now in that process. And so we're hoping that sometime early next month we will reach the 42 days and then we'll be clear. But we try also to remember that we are in a region where we have 2 other countries that are affected. And so we're working with them on a regional approach to make sure that we all protect our borders and have clear surveillance and common facilities against border crossings that that could lead to problems. But like I say, we hope we'll reach 42 and we want to see our normal development activities resume.
Right, Ebola is obviously causing damage to Liberia's economy. According to the World Bank, Ebola has cost your economy $240 million. So how can you help your economy recover?
Well, the bank's projections are right, and the stress that our economy faced, in a way, started before Ebola because of declined global prices in our 2 main exports, iron ore and rubber. Of course, Ebola just exacerbated the situation. We now hope, first of all, to be declared Ebola free, to be able to get our concessions back, our contractors back, our technical assistants, get our investors back at work. We need that for recovery. We also need to get back to our infrastructure work, such as our roads and our ports and our power, because that's the only potential for us to be able to diversify the economy in the midst of the falling prices for others. We have great potential in marine activity because we're on the sea. Fishing is a possibility. We're a great forest country, so wood products are also a possibility. And of course, building a resilient health system, getting our education system. Those are all the things where we do have a development agenda, and we're quickly moving into getting back into undertaking those activities, getting the investment that we've attracted, getting those investors back at work so that we can reverse the economic decline.
Do you have a growth target for this year?
The growth targets for this year, we're hoping we're going to, first of all, we had a 5.9% growth target for this year. It was then reduced. We want to get back to 5.9. When we say this year, I think maybe too late to get 5 to 9 for calendar year, but we hope to do so in our fiscal year, which is July to June.
And one big issue is unemployment in Liberia. We know that over 60% of your population is the young people. And according to the World Bank statistics, 80% of them are not officially employed, meaning they are working in the informal sectors, jobs that are not regulated or taxed by the government. So how concerned are you that the unemployment of the youth may give rise to social unrest that might undermine this political stability that you yourself tried hard to build?
Well, I'm glad you made a distinction about the formal unemployment. That rate is formal unemployment, means somebody who goes to a job for 8 hours a day. But what we want to do is to expand support for those in the informal sector, to make sure that those artisans and those marketeers, and those transporters, that they get the support to be able to carry on their business, because the answer also lies in the private sector, getting our investors back to work, getting our oil palm plantations going, getting our farming activities going. That's where the absorptive capacity for employment lies. And that's why I say we're going to be pushing the private sector, because the government will not be in a position, to be able to employ all these many young people that we have.
I want to switch gear a little bit and talk about the political situation in your country. As the first democratically elected female leader, you helped maintain a decade of relative political stability against the background of a decade of civil war, more than a decade, and B, a political landscape that is largely dominated by males. How did you make that happen?
I consider myself a technocrat, and I've been in the political arena for a long time, so I've earned my stripes. I've been to prison, I've done everything that any other male has done in terms of political life and political activism. And I have quite a bit of experience in the international community too, where I've had high-level positions. And so I bring to that job what it took to make it happen. And I'm glad that we have been able to have 10 years or 11 years of peace and stability. We've gone through 2 national elections and several by-elections that have been peaceful and when the results accepted by the people. And if anyone takes where we were in 2006, when we took the administration of our country, to where we are today, you're going to see a vast difference. You're going to see a lot of things that have been transformed, and we're going to keep on that with a very strong note as we try to go through the next 2.5 years.
Do you still believe that, like you said, females, women, make better leaders?
No doubt about it. Not only are they competent, those who enter it with a level of capability and a level of experience, but they also bring to it a special sensitivity that perhaps male leaders would not have.
Another issue that concerns the political stability is corruption. That is a priority for your administration. Even your ambassador to the U.S. admitted that corruption is harming Liberia by adding additional costs to its goods and services that are already difficult for its people to afford. So what are the biggest challenges in your fight against corruption in Liberia?
Being able to have those systems, those laws, that will help prevention. And that's what we've concentrated on, reducing people's vulnerability by better compensation, putting in those procurement laws. We've strengthened our General Auditing Commission, made them reportable to our legislature and not to the executive. We have an anti-corruption. So we put in all of those measures. And I believe that what we've done may not show the results today, but we've set the basis to make sure that prevention is going to be strong.
So corruption is a problem facing many, like you said, developing and developed countries like China as well. I want to switch gear a little bit and talk about Chinese investment in Liberia. What role do you think the Chinese businesses and companies have played in Liberia's economic development so far in the recent years?
They are there. The Chinese were one of the ones that were ready to take on construction of our roads and things, when maybe companies from other countries were a bit reluctant, given the fact that our economy is so small, so dependent upon external resources. But the Chinese have been there with us. We'd like to see them do more, and we'd like to see more Chinese investment, and we encourage that. For Ebola, the Chinese military came and they built an Ebola treatment center. They managed it, a very modern center. So China has been a great partner to us, and we're open to doing more with them. We know the important investment China has made in many of our African countries, even more than they've done with us. And so we're telling them that we're open for business and we encourage it. We also think China can be a partnership with some of our other investors, the US, for example. We see no contradiction in working together, China and all of our other main partners, and they too have welcomed that. So we hope that China will continue to be a strong partner to Liberia.
But the merits of Chinese investment in Liberia and Africa at large have been much debated, actually, depending who you listen to. Some say, of course, it helps build infrastructure, roads, bridges, and hospitals. But on the other hand, it causes environmental damages in countries like Ghana, the gold mines, the Cameroon, and also claims are that they brought too many of their own workers instead of creating enough local jobs. How do you look at those assessments?
Yeah, I think each country has to make sure that in the agreements that are signed and the understandings that are reached, that they also protect the environment, they protect their people, and that the benefits are mutually, are mutual to both sides. And I think it has worked in many places. We more and more, I think China itself is very conscious of these criticisms, and they've been responding positively to correct it. In our country, for example, they're building roads that are financed by the World Bank and the European Commission, but they've been very careful to train a lot of our people and to get many of the workers are not Chinese. As I travel along the roads, many of them are Liberians.
You just said that you don't see a competition or a rivalry, as some would suggest, between China and the United States in their investment strategies in Liberia and in Africa. But others say that the Chinese companies have been fast and furious, to borrow a word from the Hollywood movie, and also the American companies are a little slow. Do you agree?
Yeah, and our economy is small. So we're not that attractive to maybe American companies that are accustomed to big investments with huge returns. So we don't see any competition. The U.S., our European partners, I think they know that Liberia has to develop. Liberia has this development agenda for development, and Liberia is open to a broad range of partnerships.
Now that you're in Washington, D.C., I've got to ask you this question. How do you see your fellow statesman Hillary Clinton's chances of winning?
I think they're good. It's not my decision of the American people. But I think her chances are good.
Thank you very much, Madam President. It's a great pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you.
Coming up next, the view from Sierra Leone. President Ernest Bai Koroma speaks about his country's journey from civil war to democracy. Stay with us. You're watching The Heat.